10 Wednesday, and as the title says, and as you can see surrounding me, I am talking about middle grade. The book's designed for those between the ages of like 8 or so to like 14 or so. It's kind of right in the middle, in between the regular old picture books and things like that, and the adult and young adult books. I've already done adult and young adult books, so if you want to see what my top 10 are of those, I will link them down in the doobly-doo, but let's get started. First of all, let's do an honorary mention. I had trouble trying to figure out which one I wanted, but I went with Ever by Gail Carson Levine. She is the author who wrote Ella Enchanted. This is my favorite novel by her. It is not phenomenal, and yet I can't help but love it to pieces. But I love it a lot, so it had to get mentioned. In the 10th spot, this may surprise people that it's even on this list, but I'm going with The Royal Diaries. These are by various authors, in particular Lady of Chow Quao, Warrior of the South, and Cleopatra, Daughter of the Nile. I don't know who these are by. Lawrence Yee wrote this one, and Cleopatra is by Christina Gregory. So I really like these. There's a few others that I enjoy. These are my favorites. They're really well done. Cleopatra is what got me into the series back when I was 12 years old, and Lady of Chow Quao I read when I was 14 or so, and I still loved it. In the 9th spot is a series I haven't read to completion, although there's some Royal Diaries I haven't read, but this one I definitely haven't read to completion. I have the book that I'm on my shelves and need to just get through it, but it is Guardians of Cool, Book 1, The Capture by Catherine Lasky. While the Royal Diaries focus on real people, in a world where there are no humans, owls are some of the smartest creatures left alive, and they form armies and nations. Soren is learning how to read and starting to learn how to fly when he falls from his nest and is picked up and taken to this school that is brainwashing little owlets to form an army, and he and 4 others are setting out to find the Guardians of Gahul, who may or may not exist anymore. I really enjoy this. There's a movie, and the movie is not as good as some of these books. Where I'm at, it's number 12, I think, and it's not very well done. It starts strong and stays strong for quite a while. My favorites are when you learn about where the Guardians of Gahul came from. Number 8 is a series that also did not get a good enough movie, and it's the Spiderwick Chronicles by Tony D. Terlizzi and Holly Black. This is number 1, the field guide. You can get them in a bind-up or in individual books like this. I really enjoy this series. It follows 2 twins and their older sister as they go to their old family estate, and there they find a field guide that claims that fairies are real and are dangerous. Number 7 is a classic that I've read multiple occasions. The Disney movies did very well despite the 3rd one not doing so hot. I think they should have continued onward because there are 7 stories to be told, and it's the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Children's classic. Everyone should read this. My mother made me read them when I was in middle school, and I'm very grateful. They are classic. They are well done in a lot of sense. They're a little blah at times. I think the movies are actually better than the books. For real. To each their own. I definitely recommend this. In the 6th spot, this was kind of surprising, but when I sat down, that's where it deserved to go. It is 3 series, mostly by Jude Watson, except for Volume 1 of Jedi Apprentice, which is by Dave Wolverton, and then by Jude Watson, Jedi Quest, and Last of the Jedi. While these are not canon at all, these are not Star Wars Legends at all. These are her own universe for kids, and I really loved them when I was a child, and now that I am older, I still enjoy them. I am rereading Jedi Apprentice. I'm going to be reading the movie junior novelizations in between reading each of these series because this is before episode 1, in between 1 and 2, and after episode 3. In the 5th spot is another classic that I really like. It is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Sorry, her name's not on the title. She also wrote A Little Princess, which I have yet to read. I know I'm going to enjoy it because I love this. This is another book my mother bought and made me read, and I'm very grateful she did. I really like it. There is I think it's Disney, who did a live-action kid version. It's not very good in comparison to the book. I really enjoy the story of this little girl from India whose parents and entire household is killed in a plague, and so she has to go back to England with her uncle, who doesn't even care or notice that she exists, and she finds time by finding a secret garden and bringing it back to life, and it's really sweet. I really enjoy it. It's beautifully written, and yet when I was, 10 when I read this? Not hard to read. Number 4 is a favorite. I have talked about this a lot because I really enjoyed the series. It wrapped up at the beginning of last year or the year before that. It is Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer, the Artemis Fowl series. I have all the books except for the 7th one, which is the final one. It follows the story of a young boy genius whose mother is crazy and who needs to get a lot of money, and so, being a typical Irish young man, he decides to kidnap a leprechaun and discovers fairies aren't what the myths say that they are. In comes Holly, the leprechaun, or LEP, Lower Elements Police Recon Unit agent that he captures. It is so good. It's so funny. Artemis Fowl goes through this amazing transformation from being this pompous windbag child into this great hero. I really enjoy it. I didn't think the final book was the greatest of them, but I love this series. It's so good, so good. Now we're getting to the top 3, and OMG, I sat there for a while trying to figure out what I was going to do. But in the 3rd spot, again, surprising, because he is one of my favorite authors. It is John Flanagan's Ranger's Apprentice series and Brother Band Chronicles. You can read these interchangeably. I do recommend you start with Ranger's Apprentice and move on. Go in blind. Trust me, these are good. Ranger's Apprentice, however, follows the story of Will. Will, who has no last name because he is an orphan. At the age of 15, all the orphans are given over to masters, and the masters choose the orphans, and the orphans kind of choose the masters to get a role in society so they're not just bums. Will is chosen to be a ranger, who are said to have magical powers, maybe, who are very mysterious, and he kind of finds himself along the way, and it is really good. Each novel gets better and better. Again, you kind of have to go in a little blind. Ranger's Apprentice doesn't have that problem as much as Brother Band's Chronicles, however. Brother Band Chronicles takes place in between the latest of the books, not entirely sure when, but it follows the story of Hal, who is half Scandian, half Araluen. Araluen is where Will is from. Scandia is another nation, aka Vikings. He has always been a social outcast. Well, when Scandian boys turn, I think it's 15 again, they have to go to brother band training to train to become crews and captains or skirls on Viking ships. Hal has to make it through this training with his friends and other outcasts. Both series are really good. This leans more towards YA. As you can see, it's a lot bigger. Each of these books, they start to get bigger. Again, there was a big shift in middle grade. In case you haven't been paying attention, middle grade used to always be this size. You couldn't write much larger than that. And then it slowly began to change thanks to Twilight, Harry Potter. It was mostly Harry Potter that started it, and Twilight solidified. Kids can read big books and not be disappointed. These are both classified as middle grade. In the number 2 spot, I really had to put it there. I definitely had to put it there. It is by Rick Riordan, and it is the Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus series. This one is technically middle grade, although it is definitely leaning towards YA. This is more sure middle grade. The Heroes of Olympus is the sequel series to Percy Jackson and the Olympians, so you should definitely get through this. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Lightning Thief is the first book. It definitely starts off kind of weak. Percy Jackson is a troublemaker. He has been kicked out of schools all the time. He has dyslexia as well as ADD and has trouble focusing in school, and then his math teacher tries to kill him. Turns into a harpy, and he learns he is a demigod, a child from the ancient Greek gods. They think he stole Zeus's lightning bolt. This has movies. They're not the greatest. Definitely give this a read, if only because this is so much better. This is so good. Each book gets better and better and better, I think. I do think Titan's Curse is probably my favorite out of Percy Jackson. Heroes of Olympus, my favorite Son of Neptune, but it keeps getting, again, it keeps getting better and better, and oh my goodness! Oh, y'all need to read it. Y'all need to read it. In the number 1 spot, I mentioned it already. It's not held up here, so you can probably guess what it is. It's the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. OMG, I can't wait for the new movies and see what's happening. For those of you who live under a rock, Harry Potter follows the story of Harry Potter. He is a boy whose parents were killed in a car crash. His aunt and uncle don't really like him. His older cousin bullies him, and he is just trying to get through life. Then, on his 11th birthday, a giant man breaks down his door and tells him he is a wizard. The movies are phenomenal. I love this series. This has quickly become a classic of the ages. It came out over 20 years ago, and it is still talked about today as if it's brand new. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I gave you guys some middle grade books to consider if you're younger, even if you're not. Again, I love Artemis Fowl, Percy Jackson, Ranger's Apprentice, and of course, HP. Good luck with your reading, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Let's put this up here so this one fell. Hopefully that won't fall either. Yeah, I am talking about middle grade. Even though pulling it out just damaged the cover. In a world where other owls are kidnapping, this is blah, shoves him from his nest, and that's a spoiler. Volume, it's number 12. I can't see it. They come in box sets. They come individually. I got them all individually, and my parents were annoyed because the box set was a lot cheaper than what they made. Because there are 7 stories. Cat hair. As my books fall over. Teams, not it. Ah! There's a damn bug.